Alrighty, I'm gonna make a quick video right now. It's the next morning from last night, which was the day before yesterday, after today, something like that. Right now, I'm fixing to get into my video about King James and Sir Francis Bacon, but I want to describe the path that I took and why I took it. What led me to study the Bible? Who cares? Why should I care? And more importantly, what led somebody like me to study the Bible? I saw yesterday that my camera did cut off in the middle of discussing the gang fags. And like I said, this is not important. But there's one more thing or two more things that I wanted to say. Oh, one, they're hiding behind big trucks. And they've exposed a number of trucking companies to me where at any time that I wanted to, I could force a lawsuit and get these guys brought into court. Either that or, that's not going to happen. They are not going to sue me. That's a non-issue, but they have exposed a number of companies, not just trucking companies, but and one of the trucking company that they have exposed the most has a blue star as part of their logo. Now, I'm telling you what, I've got like at least 30 of these guys on camera doing perp shit. Especially, and the guys that, I'll leave it there. I'm going to leave that alone. Another thing that I wanted to say is that all of a sudden, I've got a whole bunch of people walking up to me saying, "Oh, you work for that company? That company sucks." Let's say I make 20 bucks an hour. You ought to come to my company. We make 60 bucks an hour over here. Yeah, okay. And one guy come up and said, "Oh yeah, I just started with this new company. I'm getting about 80 bucks an hour and this, that, and the other thing. And oh, it's a really good company. And they got openings. You ought to, apply. This, that, and the other thing." So anyway, I've got a whole bunch of people walking up to me trying to get me to leave my company to go to more money. I think any TI knows has learned there's more to this shit than money. The thing is that the gang fags, one of the gang fags' goals is to break you. So that when you go seeking help, I've mentioned it, then you're fucked. This stupid ass in this expose said, "Oh, we all want to get them. We all want to get the TIs up to Seattle, to this tent city, so we can experiment on them." Okay, they can't experiment on you where you are. Who's going to transport you? Vans? Who's going to transport you? Remember, I told you they put little tiny articles in real obscure newspapers? So that we tell you everything, you just didn't see it. You didn't look hard enough, but we told you. Did you hear about these body parts that fell out of an aircraft in India? Whose airplane was that? Did you hear about the lady who found out that her husband's head was found in South Africa? I'm contemplating putting up a horrific video to illustrate this point extremely clearly. Which illustrates who is doing this. Who is transporting these people? Where they are being transported to? What is happening when they get transported there? And why? But it is so horrific that it could shut down channels. Anyway, let me get back to what I want to get back to. I want to tell you the path I took. Like I said, I'm learning so much, I'm getting sick. These gang fags are some sick puppies. Maybe not individually, but the people they work for. The people behind the gang fags. Which is why I want to get this shit explained up on the net as soon as I can. You're walking down the street. A clown dressed up in the great big shoes, the orange hair, the rainbow outfit, the big nose, the white face, everything, jumps out and slaps you. And let's say this happens to you once a year. How long is it going to take you to snap that something's going on here? Well, for me, it took about 8 times. I'm having difficulty articulating this. Like I said, I get in front of the camera, and I'm not going to tell you about all of these specific events, but I am going to tell you about the very last one, which was about 20 years ago, which is tied directly to this trooper rumor today at my new employer. About 20 years ago, there was a company. They were raided by the ATF and the U.S. Marshals. It seems they were doing favors for friends regarding explosives. What happened to this company? Absolutely nothing. But this company agreed to monitoring, occasional inspections and that kind of stuff. Right after this occurred, I'm assuming a bunch of people got fired at that time, or arrested, one of the two. At that time, the company put out job openings in the paper and other places. I think at Workforce, because that's where I found it at, I think. And I applied, and I got the job. And this is right after the ATF and the Marshals busted them. I applied and I got the job. Immediately, I saw these guys' safety practices were not... Their safety practices were not good. And it was kind of a small company. And I took my concerns to the owner. And he was pretty much like, "You want a job, right?" Like, "Yes, sir." "Then shut up and do your job. It's the way we do things here. If you have a problem with it, you're free to go look for a job elsewhere." "Oh, okay, no problem, sir." And then one day, I got sent somewhere, and while I'm at this customer's job site, something occurred where I snapped. The customer used very delicate company equipment, my company's equipment, and they misused it. They misused it, and I snapped like I don't know if this guy was qualified to use that equipment. I thought I made a mistake and left it in disarray like that, which is something I would never do. And it was just all messed up. And I was in the break room and I heard somebody saying something that the supervisor had done that. And I went to the supervisor because I'm in a panic thinking I did it. I'm thinking I left all that stuff in disarray like that. And anyway, I'm really down on myself, yelling at myself almost for how could you be so stupid? What if something happened and all this other kind of stuff? And I'm panicking. That's what I'm doing. I'm panicking. I was in the break room and I heard these guys talking about the supervisor had done that. And I went to the supervisor. Did you do this? He said, yes. I nutted up. I jumped in this guy's face in front of all these workers and I told him, don't you ever touch my shit again, this, that, and the other thing. And I got right in his face and made him look really bad in front of his workers. That was the issue right there. I made him look really bad in front of his workers. And I was just so relieved that it was not my mistake. Anyway, this guy was a really good friend of the owner. And when I got back to the company, I got called on the carpet and there was like 3 guys in there and they were just all laying into me heavy and hard. They were yelling at me like, hey, the company doesn't have a problem with it. You shouldn't either. And that's the way, that was the company's policy. If we ain't got a problem with it, you shouldn't have a problem with it. And I'm like, I can tell, I'm not going to be here very long at all. Well, what happened was one day I came to work and I'm fixing to go to another customer and I had to go to the bathroom really bad. And I walked through the shop where there's, you know, a bunch of welders and all kinds of other stuff. And these are, you know, Harley riding kind of guys, kind of, you know, they might be outlawed. I don't know if they wear cuts, colors, rags or whatever on the weekends or whatever, but they were, you know, that type. Really nice bikes though, I'll tell you that. Anyway, I'm walking through to go to the bathroom and one of them says to the other, that's it, Marshall. And the other guy said, Marshall, I thought he was a trooper. What's his name in the office said he was a trooper. Oh? Okay, well I got that little tidbit. This is when I told you there was an attempt on my life. When I left to go to this new customer, there is no explanation, none whatsoever. What they had planned for me did not happen. The way things were set up, if it was discovered, could be claimed to be mishandling, an honest mistake, kind of like how Brandon Lee died. With the investigation, they found out so many people handled that gun, and then the one guy put the real bullet into it, and then a couple more people handled it, and then they put it in inventory. Nobody ever took that live bullet out, and then they got it on set, and Brandon Lee got killed. It was similar to that, where there could be plausible deniability that it was an accident, bad handling, somebody was working on the vehicle, then someone else might have come by and closed the hood, somebody figures, oh, the hood's closed, they park it out in the parking lot and say, okay, it's ready to go. It was something like that that could have happened. It could have been construed as an honest mistake. When I discovered it, I was just shaking for probably an hour and a half, and I don't even remember if my ex-wife would remember this incident, because I know my daughter, I think, watches these videos. But I don't know if I told her about it. I'm sure I did because it was so significant. But this was the last attempt out of about, I don't know how many, at least 8. There's 3, maybe 4 of them that are well documented by law enforcement, hospitals, EMS, fire, that kind of stuff. And I'm not going to go into each one. It's like, that's not what's important. What is important is that this incident right here was the 8th clown jumping out of the woods, bushes, doing his thing. It took me this many times to realize something is going on, because there is no explanation. What they had, how they had this car fixed, there is no explanation, none, why it did not occur. There is absolutely no explanation possible of why that event did not occur. There was nothing wrong with anything that they did that kept it from occurring. But this event really woke me up because of the blatant, why didn't it? There is no explanation. And this woke me up. That something is occurring in my life that I have no clue about. And this is what brought me to studying the Bible. Now, I have always had a problem with the Bible. It's like I'm a laundry bag and somebody's just trying to cram that last sock in there. You're going to study this Bible. You're going to, you know what? The more you do that kind of shit, the more people want nothing to do with it. And my biggest problem with the Bible is that it says you're a bad guy from day one. Just straight out of the womb, you're a bad guy. I'm like, bullshit. I'll find something else that says I'm not a bad guy. How about that? But when this incident occurred, I went looking for somebody who knew what the Bible says. That is not what it says. It does not say you're a bad guy from day one. When I found out what it really did say, I was so excited to get into it and study it. I learned about Sir Francis Bacon, King James, and all that. That's what my next video is going to be about. But this is the path that brought me there. Also, just to tie up that incident, so the only way that this rumor could have started at this new company is if somebody from that company now works here and remembers me from that company. That's the only way. Somebody, whoever that was in that office that told that shop worker that I was a trooper, he's got to be at my company now. That's the only explanation I can come up with how this trooper rumor started. I guess that's about it. But now I can concentrate on making the video of Sir Francis Bacon and King James, which is going to explain a lot. Okay, I'm not leaving anything out. Okay. Hope that helps. Talk to you later. Bye.